The first person might be what we could call, or put a label, if we had to put a label on them, maybe this is the experienced and bored participant, the person who comes into the room and says, I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm not sure what I could possibly learn in this session. I'm not sure I want to change anything at this point anyway, right? So maybe there is something that you can teach me, but I don't know that I need to get any better. Or I'm really only here because my boss sent me. I'm going to kind of walk through each of these personas, and I'm going to ask you just to kind of share some of your own thoughts, some of your own experiences, maybe some of the strategies that you've used in the chat. And I'm going to, so you can choose to write some things in the chat, or you can choose just to soak in this information. It's really going to be up to you as we get going here. But the first thing I'd love to hear from you, if you so choose, is how can this impact the training environment, right? So we have somebody who comes in and they're kind of what we call the experienced and bored person. They've been doing this for 20 years. I'm not sure what I could possibly learn from you, or I'm not sure that I want to learn anything. I was just told to be here because my boss told me to. Yeah, and I'm starting to see some comments already. It sets a bad example. It gives negative energy, or it's an energy sucker. One of the things that this does is it can create an erosion of psychological safety. A lot of times people show up at training and they're ready to learn, and then suddenly they hear this, and it can take that away. Or maybe those feelings of being annoyed can get contagious, and other people can jump in. It can distract from group activities. It can disrupt the validity of what we're presenting. Absolutely. So this is again, not necessarily a bad person. I don't think this person, any of the people who would say any of these statements, wakes up and looks at themselves in the mirror in the morning and thinks, how can I make this life hard on Brian? This is just kind of the attitude that they might show, or bring with them into the room. And some of the things that might drive this behavior, is that it's an experienced professional, right? They have experience, or they feel like they have better things to do than sitting in your training session. Maybe they feel like this is beneath them in some way. Maybe they feel like they're already successful enough, or maybe they feel like they could or should be teaching this class. And just a reminder that none of those things that I just shared, or none of the things I'm going to share that drive other personas, really come from a malevolent point of view or intent. But it is something that we need to figure out how to engage this, because we need to be able to make sure that this is a good learning environment for everyone involved, that person as well as everyone else. And so, how do we engage this person? And I'd love if you have some thoughts or strategies that you've taken, feel free to drop those into the chat as well, because we can just kind of build a whole kind of library of ways to engage some of these personas. I'm going to kind of break this particular situation up into a few things that we might want to do, and definitely one thing that we're going to want to avoid doing when addressing this persona. So the first thing is trust your process and trust your content. If you've been asked to deliver a training session, there's a reason why you were asked to do that. And somebody who comes in and says, I have 20 years of experience, I could probably be teaching this class. Okay, they can say that, and that can really play with your mind a little bit as a facilitator. But trust your process, trust the content that you've put in there. Um, at the same time, have some humility, right? So one of the things I like to do, and I'm doing it right here, I don't hold a monopoly on all that is wise and good. There are some really good thoughts. I'm pointing over here because this is where I'm seeing the chat come in. There's some really good thoughts in chat for this particular session. There's always good thoughts that will come from my participants, and I want the participants to share some of those things. So I don't hold a monopoly on all that is wise and good. Establish relationship with that person. Talk with them at a break, maybe. So you've been doing this for 20 years. What's been kind of the craziest thing you've seen, or whatever it might be? Just to recognize that, hey, I see you. And it's not a threat, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about where you're coming from. Maybe identify their expertise and lean on it during a session. One of the things that we want to make sure that we do not do in this situation, and it's very tempting. I know that when I feel challenged, Sometimes I'm tempted to do this, but this is a do not do at any cost, is try to prove that you know more than them, right? Because then it becomes a me versus that person type of thing. And it's very possible that I don't know more than them. Right. So there's a reason why I'm doing this training session. And at the same time, that doesn't mean that I have more experience than anybody else who's ever covered this topic. So we do need to make sure that we don't turn this into an us versus them type of thing. I love what some of the things that people have written in the chat have to say as well. I'm going to keep moving on, but please do, as you're taking notes here, I certainly have lots to share, but we are seeing some top-notch suggestions here in the chat as well. The second persona